Okay, I just wanted to do. I'm glad this came up. I just wanted to do a real quick thing, because my car broke down, so I'm having to go get my car fixed, and then I'm going to work. But so I sent the notices. No one's bugged me about a mask at work since I sent them, but I don't think that has anything to do with it. They only started bugging me really there at the end before I sent the notices. But I'm fixing to go ahead and do. I printed off the notice for the reacquisition of the grand juries by the people from Candace Taylor's. Oh, it made me really sad that Donald Trump doesn't know about Candace Taylor for governor of Georgia yet. That's too bad, because I was like, I don't even have. Twitter's gone. I don't even have any way to make, to try to get his attention about her or whatever. But anyways, I hope he realizes soon about her, because I heard him kind of half-heartedly endorse somebody else for governor of Georgia. It was like some person who was already in Congress or something like that. But so because I think that he isn't aware that there's a patriot that is in the running for it yet. Or, I mean, obviously there's a lot of people who have been trying to take the attention away from the people who have really been working hard to try to get the power back to the people, like Candace and Josh and David. But so that's probably a large part of it. But anyway, so I copied the notice from her website, Candace Taylor's website, and I'm going to. That's my next side note. I'm going to apply for. Yeah, but anyways, that's not important. So I'm gonna go ahead and do, while I'm at the shop getting my car fixed, I'm gonna do the research to switch out the parts where she cites Georgia Constitution and go ahead and find the parts of the Oklahoma Constitution, which, thanks to David Jose, I've become pretty familiar with, so it probably won't be that hard. But with parts of the Oklahoma Constitution that support the same ideals or the same freedom, or at least dictate or outline the same types of freedoms or guarantees, because like we've all learned, the federal U.S. Constitution guarantees every state a republic form of government. And so in a republic form of government, there's no authority that has the right to impose on the freedoms of the free man, right? The free peoples, we the peoples. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done and get that in, because I guess what is next is going ahead and even though I'm in Oklahoma and we weren't already, go ahead and start letting the legislature know that how and the why to go ahead and start the full forensic audit in the state of Oklahoma, because those of us who have pledged that there won't be another election until 2020 is rectified, like, there's a lot of pressure to go ahead and get that stuff done, sort of, as well. Like, we want to have, but that's 50 states. 50 states have got to audit their election process and come up with something better. The reason why I know everybody in DC is crooked is because none of them are even talking about actual ways that we can change the process in order to spur confidence in the election process. And I think that, when I hear people talk about how Iraq had a more secure election than America last election season, well, they used their smartphones, biomarkers, and in this country, we still have people in D.C. who are saying, "Oh, voter ID is racist." So I can only imagine how they're gonna spin the, "Oh, everybody's got to have a phone to vote." Oh, that's not, give me a break. All right. So biomarkers, they were using biomarkers so that each live person only got one vote. And then my understanding is, and I might be a little wrong on this, because I only heard this second, third hand at best, that they have then a process that tallies the each vote. It keeps a live running tally, and so you can actually kind of see in real time how. And so when they tried to do that on the news stations this last election, right? Anybody who was paying attention could see that they clearly, votes, the tally should never go down, right? The number of votes should never go down whenever you have a program like that that's counting votes, and it's adding to the total as it goes. Well, okay, there's never a negative such so and so vote, right? So whenever we saw votes taken from Donald Trump's total and then added on to Biden's total in real time, I mean, it's like crazy how much that, I guess, TikTok or whatever the other apps, the screen time has made people's attention span just like 30 seconds long. It's like everybody saw that and then just everybody moves on with their lives. I understand not everybody can fight. They got things to do, families to raise, jobs to work, and but those of us that can, we don't think anything is too much to try to save the republic. I mean, this is the hill to die on right here, the free and fair elections hill. You know, they judged how democratic a nation is by how free and fair their elections are, and one of those components is there competition in the elections? Because if there isn't, that's a real good signal that there's something wrong, that there's some kind of bullying or something like that going on, something nefarious. So, you know, the fact that a lot of these incumbents have stood unchallenged for a long time, I think, was a signal that none of us really picked up on, that something was wrong. That, first of all, we don't have a path that's to these elected offices that really attract the type of people we want in these elected offices. We have a path to these elected offices that have basically ruled out any of the regular we the people in running for office, and basically has left it to the elites who, by definition, are not gonna have the good of the people in mind, or at the center of their decision making process. So the people who are going to have the good of the people, or the will of the people, in the forefront of their mind in their decision making process, and who are going to feel compelled to do those things, well, those type of people really don't have a path to get into those positions. And so that's something also I feel like personally we need to address and fix. And I think maybe an election spending cap might be appropriate. You know, you could only spend so much. You know, I mean, cap how much they could spend on their election campaigns, you know, or something like that, so that there's some kind of level playing field when it comes to elections, and that it at least opens up the avenues for folks who maybe do have good intentions but aren't rich, don't have great resources. But, you know, sometimes those people who have the most strong amount, you know, the strongest ethics fabric woven into them, they're not rich. In fact, most of the time, my understanding, and I don't know this to be true because I don't know a bunch of rich people, but I was told that there's never going to be a good person that has a whole lot of money. You know, so far I haven't found that not to be true. And so, kind of begs the question, like, I can't remember who said it. I'm taking off somebody else. I can't remember who said it, but they were like, why do we have the worst people leading the best country? I don't know, but it's inevitably going to lead to this being the worst country. It just will. And it's been too many years. I mean, all of the greatness that was founded in our nation by the forefathers and by everybody who had great intentions and who built on this country over the last 250 years. Well, everybody added or contributed something. But now we're at the point where I don't know how many decades it's been, but the people who have been in charge of this country do not love this country. They aren't for freedom. They aren't for liberty. They aren't happy that the greatest experiment the world's ever seen in self-governance is actually succeeding. That's not what they wanted. You know, they wanted it. And that's why so often over in China, the Chinese Communist Party doesn't want America to look good, doesn't want their people to know that freedom and liberty can also have prosperity, can also ensure people a good life, because in China there's enough of them that unhappy peasants always equal a regime change, I heard. So what that means is no matter how powerful that authoritarian government gets, those people know that there's enough of them to join together, join their forces, and overturn and force a regime change. Why is it that we don't know that in America? I mean, why is it that we don't understand that the ideals that we hear on TV and radio are the people with the megaphones or the microphones. They're people that are in like 3 places in the whole country, but they're not the country. They're not even the majority. They're not even they don't even have a plurality. They're such a small fraction of this, and their vision for this country is so narrow, right? They only see its destruction. They don't want to consider the prosperity and what good could come of it, because that's not their agenda. Now, whether they were bought into that, sold into that ideal, or really convinced that it's the only way. I think that it's the whole thing. When you start to deceive, you should know that there's something wrong with your plan. There's nothing. The level of cognitive dissonance it takes for people to walk around with a mask believing that's going to protect them, the level of oblivion that it takes for people to realize that in the beginning this COVID thing started out as a plan to get you into a Marxist ideal. I mean, the ideal that something I do can affect your health is not an American. It's a Marxist ideal. It's a Marxist thought process. Look, anybody in America today has all of the tools at their disposal to keep themselves well. All right? So there's no reason for anybody today to blame anything that happens to them today on anybody else other than themselves. And that's what liberty counts on, personal accountability. And the moment that you take personal accountability out of it, which is what you're doing, you're not only weaponizing one neighbor against another, but you're saying, hey, it's not my fault if I get sick. It's your fault if I get sick because you didn't wear your mask. Such an un-American ideal. That's not even right. Okay, you're not putting on your mask to protect other people. You're putting on your mask because you haven't thought it through. Because you're a sheep. Because it's easier for you to go about doing what they say. That's fine. But at the point that what they say is no longer constitutional, then people need to stop, take a step back, reevaluate the logic behind, the reasoning behind these decision-making processes, and decide, how important is my security? I mean, and that's why this country has a right to bear arms, because we can provide for our own security if need be. To a certain extent, we're obligated to. So at that point that you know that, then you understand that personal responsibility is a huge part of liberty, and they're taking the personal responsibility out of COVID. They're saying that if somebody else is sick or hospitalized, or if the ERs are overrun, it's your fault for not making the right health decisions. Well, where has that narrative been this whole time? What if people are unhealthy or fat or eat too much bacon or have high cholesterol, or, you know what, we don't shame those people. You know what I'm saying? For taking up hospital space. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. Medicine is all about to come back anyway. Those doctors, by the time they enter medical school, they know that they're entering into a false system that is simply made so that, not to keep people sick, so that they have job security. Doctors don't make money by getting you well. If everybody was well and everybody knew how to keep themselves well, like with plants and food and diet and stuff, then doctors wouldn't have a job. They created the pharmaceutical industry so that they could make money, and they now have decimated any nutrition or talk about what could really cure you, because they'd rather medicate you, because that's where the money is. The money's not in the cure. No matter how expensive the cure is, it generates $0 into the economy. But the medicine, research for cancer, generates billions of dollars into the economy, but the cure would generate $0. I think that everybody's aware of that narrative, and we all know. If you don't know that our government created cancer, that big, you know what I'm saying? If you don't know that they created most of what ails us, not just COVID, but P.S. you can look up the patent maybe for COVID and find that Bill Gates owns a patent for COVID-19, but that doesn't mean Dr. Fauci didn't fund the research. You know what I'm saying? They're like long-time buddies. Do a little bit of research on Bill Gates. First of all, I have the same medical credentials as he does, okay? Second of all, I would do a better job of keeping viruses off your windows, so you should trust me more with viruses in your body, right? But this guy has no medical credentials, and you're letting him handle vaccines. Well, let me tell you a little bit about his parents. They were like the mother and father of eugenics. He's a globalist who believes there's too many people on the planet. His TED Talk, a public TED Talk, by the way, he states that his vaccines, if successful, will eliminate 12 to 15% of the population, which I had to rewind and hear again, because I thought the point of vaccines was to make people well, to save people's lives, not to eliminate part of the population. But lo and behold, that's not what a vaccine from Bill Gates does. A vaccine from Bill Gates was it Prince Andrew? I think he said if he could come back as anything, if reincarnation was really want to come back as a deadly disease that killed out most of the population to do the world a favor. No human being has a right to say that we're crowded. We're not. Are you crowded? You're not. China's not crowded. Nowhere's crowded. There's not too many people on the planet. The planet isn't. Global warming is the same as global cooling. It's something that comes and goes. The amount. This planet is a super organism, first of all, in my theory, and so. Look, it'll kick us off way before we can ever really seriously affect it. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. But if you consider the biosphere as a living organism in itself, a superorganism or whatever, or several organisms together, working together to create a space that's livable for everybody, then the biosphere. What I suggested to my global sustainability professor that made him so mad was that the glaciers melting was just the biosphere sensing the lack of fresh water in itself and correcting itself for itself. Oh, there's no science behind that. I mean, like, I thought it might be a dumb idea, but after he, like, at first I was like, okay. But when I got away, I started thinking, I was like, it's probably closest to true, because he was so defensive of, like, no, like, I know, it's probably a dumb idea, I already told you, it's just something I thought of. But then I thought, you know what, I'm probably a lot closer to right than anything that they think, even are trying to claim is true. And, so, there's no catastrophic weather event that's going to happen that's going to affect humanity. That's the lie. That's the big lie. The green movement wants to fleece itself. That's fine. Now it's trying to fleece everybody else. That's not okay. If somebody wants me to plug my car in, then I have serious questions for them, and I don't want them making decisions for everybody else. They haven't thought the shit through. You know what I mean? The electricity goes from the same fucking fossil fuel. It's so maddening to me to see the lack of just common sense. But I understand, like, we've all been programmed by our screens and stuff, but a lot of us who are truthers or have been red pilled, there was certain events in our lives where we couldn't qualify what the truth was, or with what we were seeing with what they were saying the truth was. And that's where we came at an impasse and we started searching for our own truth, I had several instances, but the last one that probably really sent me into the spiral of digging for something was whenever the media in America blacked out the Seth Rich story, who was a 27-year-old man who was gunned down and killed in Washington, D.C. He was a patriot. He was a Bernie bro. I don't hold that against him. He was very well known, and he showed up at all the Democratic national conventions in a American flag suit that he wore, and he was a tech guy, and he worked for the Democratic National Convention, and he was an insider, and I believe he was probably the one that ended up finding the files and getting them to Julian Assange about Hillary's emails, and I think that's why they probably killed him. But they covered it up. They haven't really, there's no justice for Seth Rich, But at the point that they just killed this young man in cold blood, blocks, away from, he's walking home, I guess, from a bar in D.C., the DC police said it was a robbery, but nothing was taken. At least his watch, his phone, his wallet, and then they kept playing hot potato with who had because they went in and took his computers and stuff like this. FBI was saying, we don't have it. DC police was saying, we were told to stand down on the investigation. Somebody else is handling it above us. So, anyways, but it didn't matter because the media couldn't, and they don't want to. Because they're all CIA operatives. I think it's time we admit to ourselves that all of our alphabet agencies are just criminal organizations. If you defund them, at least they will be operating as such and not under the auspices or the authority of our government, because they're horribly crooked. I mean, I'm convinced there's not a good one in the FBI. They go, the rank and file. The rank and file are horrible. The rank and file are who didn't turn in the reports for those gymnasts who were trying to say that there was a predator on the. Those are the guys that let 40 more women and girls be preyed on by this man, by this monster. So don't tell me the rank and file are good. Oh, 99%. No, none of them are good. And when you have a corrupt organization operating like that, then you can't operate in a good manner. I mean, you have to be operating in it correctly, or you won't be operating in it at all. You know what I mean? So, don't tell me the FBI. See, I mean, they've been bad from the beginning. Heck, who founded them? Well, let's see. We didn't kill the people we were supposed to after Nuremberg. Instead, we just changed, falsified their histories and brought, killed 18 of them, brought 300 of them over because we thought, oh, what? We needed the knowledge? I don't understand. That's like Hitler has $3 that are running countries today. I don't get the way. I guess we didn't learn anything. I don't know. It just seems like nobody's standing up. It seems like somebody somewhere should have stood up before now, before me. It made a ruckus. But I'll do it, I guess. I gotta go get my part and get it put on so I can make it to work tonight. But so far I haven't heard back from Walmart or any of my not any of the state legislature, not the governor, not anybody yet. I need to check my mail before I leave today, but I hope everybody is having a good day, and it's time to stand up, folks. We need to do something about this now. Socialism is going to be brought in with the stroke of a pen, or it could be argued it already has been, but we won't be able to get out of it so easily. We won't get our freedoms back that we've given up for security. They're not just going to hand them back to us. That's the problem. And now they want to take more. And I saw Gloria Allred debate. First of all, it's sad to see somebody I really kind of admired over the years growing up or thought was smart. She's supposed to be a women's rights advocate and an attorney but to make such disingenuous, I mean, she literally played the whole victim card, like, oh, that's sexist to say hysterical women. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's sexist to say all women are hysterical, and only women are hysterical. It's not. It's sexist to say anybody's acting hysterical. In a specific instance. That's not sexist or anything. That's a state of fact. That's stating your opinion or fact. To make a broad generalization maybe would. I don't know. Anyway, he's not sexist. That's ridiculous. She just didn't have a really good argument for the fact that she herself saying this is not about freedom. This is not about rights. Oh my God! Thanks for showing your fucking true colors, globalist. That doesn't really give a shit. And all of these people who are advocating for us to just go along to get along. None of those people think they're going to be affected by this authoritarianism that's being ushered in. They all think they're going to be part of the elite, the ruling class. It's not until it's going to be way too late that they'll realize. But that's not the time for us to stand up and take notice whenever they're finally getting attacked. That's going to be too late. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you like these people or not. It's all about how do you want your kids and grandkids to grow up? What kind of country do you want them to see them have to grow up in? I mean, that's why I say nothing's too much. Nothing's too much to make sure the next election is secure and that our votes count. It doesn't matter that they haven't counted since 1970. That's 5 years before I was born. What matters is that I went around telling people to register to vote. And, I don't want to run for office because I gravely underestimated the level of corruption in D.C. And that's just not a place. I mean, now that I know, that's not a craven place I want to be in. There's no way I would try to get there until I knew. And so working from this end, the local end, to try to kind of fight the corruption up there is way more up my alley. I don't want to be a victim. I don't care how popular it becomes. I know stuff comes in and out, I don't ever want to be a victim. I'm not a victim. I'm a victor. And that's the thing that liberty gives you, the choice to either be good or bad.